can't do multiple sports at one time. You got to pick just one thing. It would be absurd if somebody was trying to be a powerlifter, if someone was trying to be a bodybuilder, and they're also trying to do jiu-jitsu. And it would be absurd if somebody started lifting when they were 5 years old, right? All these things sound a little crazy. Well, we got Jimmy House in here today, and this guy does all these disciplines, and he's very proficient at them. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's got his eyesight on the WWE in the future. He's also a power lifter and also has done some bodybuilding. I think it's amazing to have somebody with us today that's so honed in and focused on some of these goals, and to see him, he's deadlifted over 750 pounds. He's squatted right around 800 pounds. He's incredibly strong and incredibly talented, but he's a guy that wants to learn, wants to continue to get better, and he's kicking a lot of ass in jiu-jitsu. And I'm excited to kind of see what's going to go down when him and Nsima go at it later tonight and over the next couple days that he's here. So I'm super excited for you guys to see and to learn about Jimmy House. If you have never heard of him before, this is probably your first time hearing about him. Well, I guess that would be your first time if I said you never heard of him before. But you get my point. You're seeing him here first at Super Training Gym, and I'm super excited to have him in here today.
You were serious because like his toes look real
I think he did have a pedicure.
No, right? I didn't. I think it's like naturally like an Asian thing, to be honest.
They do have better feet than everybody else. The feet and the calves.
Or maybe the diet. These are just fried rice, orange chicken.
I like the. I didn't say.
I said it. It's okay.
He said it.
He said what we were thinking. He read our mind.
Oh shit.
Hey, slow down. Sorry, buddy.
You see, I can kind of get my arms kind of long. They used to be all the way up here back when I was, and that's where I really appreciate like dropping.
See what he's doing with his feet? See those toes?
Wider,
grabbing the ground?
Wider in the actual pull, and I'd be like finishing up here more often.
The cue that I've been using is push down with the arms as you drive up with the legs. So just maximize like this. And then I've been trying to keep my shoulder almost disengaged to where I'm not tempted to try to retract to start muscling through it at the top. Yeah. I feel that with this, I've been able to fight through most sticking points because I just trust the position of the leverage of my levers versus before I'd be like, fighting through and then like maybe fight it out towards the end. But now it's just kind of more like pop, which is something I always envied watching a lot of the people that I would compete against, and I always thought I just had short arms, but I just didn't know how to unlock my true potential.
Yeah, they don't lift it any higher. They just go like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, how'd they do that?
Yeah, it's insane.
So let me ask you this also, because on the podcast you mentioned now that you used to lock out here, now you're locking out here. You still have a level of retraction, right? Except now it's retraction and a little bit of shoulder depression.
Yeah, depression. I would say the depression is to where my posture still looks vertical.
Yeah.
And I'm not finishing here with soft hips, but up there. So when I lock out, depressing downward, retraction, but not so much so to where my shoulders start to lift.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he's at the top of a dip, like rather than just pushing to here, it's down in here.
Right.
And you're packing the lats too by doing that
packing
too.
the lats, ribs, and so the lockout, like at a certain point, like right here, my fists don't really move up at all. The grip, right, is locking through. Versus in the past, I'd be fighting through all the way to up here.
Makes a big difference.
And that's where I noticed, like my technical max around 200 pounds so far has been like 740 versus my 765 max when I was like 240, muscling it more so than leveraging it now. That's the biggest difference I felt.
This is one of the reasons why bodybuilders have talked for years about how great of a back builder deadlift is. I think things like, okay, you deadlift, and of course it works the back of your body because it's hamstrings and glutes, and it's going to get the erectors and stuff. But I don't think we realize that by trying to hold this static position of keeping the weight close to us, it works the crap out of your lats. Because if you deadlift and you start to get away from the weight, a lot of times it's because you open up this way and you start to internally rotate. Even with the hand that's under, you start to rotate this way and you push the weight away from you, and you end up with a lot of space between you and where the barbell is. And instead, you want that barbell to be here. You're trying to turn a regular deadlift more into like a trap bar deadlift. Everyone knows you can lift more in a trap bar. You're trying to take that bar and bend it around your legs. And if you'll notice, the best deadlifters in the world, it's not always, because there's always outliers, but their shoulders have some good distance from their ears. Now, just because you don't have that doesn't mean you're going to be a shitty deadlifter, but it just means that they may have long arms, they may not have long arms, but their structure, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, their structure is going to allow them to pull big weight. He deadlifted 727, which is a damn good deadlift, especially for somebody that doesn't have much of a waist.
I'll join you up to about 400, 500 pounds because I don't deadlift off anymore, but I'm going to cheat and do sumo.
But is this your main, or do you normally do conventional?
I mainly do sumo.
Oh,
I've always been a cheater.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Always been a cheater.
That's all Sam.
Not with the ladies. I have morals.
Don't treat your don't treat your girls like you treat your deadlift.
So if you can get him from the side here, Ryan, for a second, you're going to see that there's, and this is just warm-up weight, like he's not even, he'll move better as the weight gets heavier because he'll have more weight to pull against. But you're going to notice there's not a lot of space in here between where his legs and his arms are when he drops his hips and when he actually goes. It's all lined up. And the shoulder is just a hinge part of this. It's just locked in. So it's just arms as long as you can get them. Get those arms to be as long as you can. Even into the fingertips. Relax the fingertips. I mean, obviously can't open them up, but you want to relax.
Oh, this is refreshing. It hasn't been a deadlift party in a minute.
I know.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So one little cheat move you guys can try at home, but everyone's a little different, but as you go to pull the weight, once the weight gets about here, you can just throw your head back. Not necessarily up. You can just throw your head back. Your head has a certain amount of weight. This
Especially
pumpkin,
yours.
Yeah, this pumpkin probably weighs what, 100 pounds?
120, 121.
About 121 pounds if we're being honest. And so as you go to come up, when you get to here, as you go to accelerate into the weight, just chuck that head back. You don't want to overextend the back or anything, but you can just throw the head back. Arms long. And really try to lock those lats in whatever way you can figure out.
Fuck yeah.
I have actually developed this technique in my strapping skills, like my cheating skills, to where I time the breath with the straps to where, because I've always felt that I like the straps to save your hand, save your bicep, what have you, but the downfall of that is I never felt that I could get a proper brace once I'm strapped down.
Especially with a belt on.
Yeah, especially with the belt on. So I've developed a little bit of a routine where I get myself in position, I get these as long as possible, shoulders are pushed down from the very beginning, brace my core, and then it's just repetition and timing. But I'm here. And I've just practiced that enough to where I'm pretty automatic with it. I've only messed up a couple of times when I first started doing it, but just like a quick flip, because you really only need one wrap for the most part anyways. And then that actually, to your point earlier, helps remind me to stay almost loose with my hands. And you can even cheat it even more with the straps because of the fact that I'm not getting a super tight grip. I'm like cutting off an extra inch by being here.
Yeah.
And with how durable these amazing straps are, first time using them by the way, it's never going to slip out of your hands anyways.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the same concept when it comes to using the hook grip.
Yeah.
When you're using the hook grip, a lot of people have the tendency to squeeze as hard as possible. You're actually supposed to kind of let the bar hang in your hands so your hands become straps. And it can, instead of the bar being here for lockout, you can get this extra bit of length when it comes to lockout.
When I first started doing hook grip, I automatically would always turn my thumbs. But then when I learned that, cut off range of motion, and you don't rip your skin off every single time.
Yeah.
So I like this because the positioning is very similar. Say if I was competing doing a hook grip, like for example, you'll see the lockout be pretty much in the same spot. And the only difference is with the straps. But to your point, it's like a very soft grip. And you just trust the hook.
Yeah.
Is what I kind of told myself. Just trust the hook. It almost feels like it should slip. But it's actually a really solidified grip. So.
Walk us through how you deadlift, like what's going on through your head, or
Okay.
how'd you learn how to deadlift type
So
thing?
we talked about on the podcast about the similarities between deadlifting and jumping. So typically, like when I'm training my clients, beginners, I'll say, I want you to run up to the bar and pretend like you're gonna jump as high as you can over it. So like, okay. Pause. Naturally, this is where my body feels the most powerful without any adjustment. Now, as a beginner, we can deviate off that a little bit, go wider, more narrow. But this is a good starting point. And personally for me, this is where I feel the most comfortable. And going back into the backflip conversation, this is pretty much where I have my feet lined up and I load my hips and body in the same way. Here, chest up, hips back, quads loaded as well, extending through my heels, toes, all the way to the top. So the only difference here is I'm not coming off the ground and my heels are staying connected. But I basically just think about it like that. So now, if I add everything together,
Take it off. You gotta see the muscles working. Let me know what your last looks like.
try to get the brand in.
Oh, okay.
I'll save it. I'll save it for
tattoo
this.
on your chest.
But like that body is the brand.
You're right. All right, well, it's
You're
coming
jacked as shit, brother.
It's coming off.
Yeah.
You need to get a house tattooed on your chest.
I know. If I had chest hair, I'd just shave the logo in it. Okay, so to finish off from here, lining up in a jumping athletic type position, bar is going to line up over my midfoot so that it stays on top of my center of gravity. That's going to be a consistent detail for pretty much everybody, no matter how tall, short, skinny, fat you are, how big you are. After you accomplish that, I'm maximizing the length of my arms and not letting my arms bend once I meet the bar. So basically, I'm only getting down as low as I need to actually make that wrap or that grip, making sure I don't drop any lower to throw off my leverages. Then I'll set my hips, pull the slack out with my legs, and then leg press forward. And you'll find that my starting position is very upright. And the lift itself looks short, but I'm more so just complementing my body's positioning and leverage with what I have working for myself.
So you can have your hips too low.
Yeah, you definitely can, for sure. And so typically I would say
Sometimes I think that's people's focus. Like, I gotta get my hips really low.
and to beginner's perspective, it's like if you go too low, you have to acknowledge that we're not squatting weight on top of us, it's in front of us. So if I go too low here, naturally, what's gonna happen is I'll squat with the distribution of the weight. It's gonna throw me out of position to where my body feels like it's strong to actually lift it, and then I'm gonna pull it in, but it's gonna throw me forward so that my hamstrings aren't gonna be as loaded as they could. So my general philosophy is, once you accomplish midfoot here with the bar, my hands meet straight down. As soon as I feel like the hair of my shins touch, this is generally where I'm gonna start the lift. And then as soon as my hands can meet, I'm not dropping any lower. So for myself, it's about right here. Depending upon your length specifically, it might be lower, it might be higher. But those are generally my cues to find your ideal deadlift position.
And I will say too, you gotta watch this man's toes and feet. He's like up here, he's like, his little feet are just like, he's like,
Toes are grabbing the ground.
but they're not smashed together. They're like grabbing the ground, and it's like he'll grab their toe, and like
Interesting.
it's just, probably you shouldn't even think about it, but like it is so natural. It's like his toes are moving as he's talking. He's like feeling the ground, he's there. It's like, it's unbelievable. So watch that, because it's like, his feet are just as engaged as his hands.
Nice, I didn't even notice I did that, okay. Yeah, I was taught a while ago to like grip your toes in the ground to get a little bit more quad engagement if people feel like they need to load their hamstrings and their toes are coming up and they lose balance. So I like that though. I never noticed that about myself. So one more
I'm gonna
time.
ask you about that because
Really?
we saw, you were grabbing the
A couple
ground.
toes
you
are
were-
crinkled underneath.
Oh,
Yeah, but
interesting.
now
Okay.
like he's creating, but that's kind of like it's most people when they do that, they smash their toes together. His big toe is there and his little toes are working, so he's creating a grip with his toes.
Nice.
I don't even have to like do it. You see, but it's like
Yeah.
shortening it, or it's kind of like his fingers. He's gripping, and he's there, but it's like his ball of his feet are still there. That's next level stuff. It's just like you just see them moving, and there's so much fluidity with that. It's,
Nice, well thank you. So one more time all the way through.
You can go right to outer space with that. Common thread amongst pretty much all of us is that we utilize the barbell to get, you can keep going, utilize the barbell to get in position. Use the bar to get yourself in a good spot, and it'll help you like leverage and kind of like wedge the weight off the ground. Any tips or advice on what you're seeing from him right now?
Yeah.
I think you could probably get like an inch more upright if you just depress your shoulders downward a little bit more, and you'll get like more like right on top of the bar. So if you can kind of, you're gonna loosen up your shoulders to the extent to where you're maximizing your length going down, but then as you sink in and start pulling the slack out, then you can externally rotate your elbows to achieve
that more upright posture. Yeah, that's better.
Got a small suggestion of maybe moving your feet in just a little bit closer and point them outward just a pinch. Usually works pretty good for most people.
It's a lot with that shoulders.
It's a little bit like it's counterintuitive at first, for sure. I like that. That look good.
There you go.
That look real good.
Let's go.
Apologize for that. Apologize no way. It's disrespect.
Well, you're also probably faster than all of us. Nice.
Smooth. Good job.
Nice.
I would say still bring those feet in. Something weird happened. What's that called?
There's an aspect of deadlifting with the amount of stiffness that you need to create within your spine. You want to be able to create a lot of stiffness. With myself being so slinky now, I can still lift it, but there's risk.
I think by having both stimuli in place and training as best as you can between your stiffer power movements and then having the movements, say a Jefferson curl or a seated good morning, where the goal is to be more so loose, especially in your spine. So even if you weren't able to anticipate or predict whether you need to be neutral or inflection, you're prepared for either. And so for jiu-jitsu, I don't know how I would make the distinction, but my guard game is a lot of inversions, getting in funky position where my spine is really inflection, and coming from this to there, I don't have too much trouble going between the two, but I can't speak for everybody. That's just my experience. Nice.
Very good.
Nice. Good.
Nice.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
All right. That looked great.
That's great, dude. Good job.
Here we go.
How'd that feel?
Good.
Yeah.
It's easy if you do a collab with somebody Mark has got.
Let's go, brother.
Let's go.
Easy.
Yep.
Subscribe for more.
It's fast. So fast I couldn't see it.
Let's come with the Barefoot Sprinter. White Lightning.
That's good.
Let's go.
Jimmy, big pull here. Here we go.
Go!
Nice.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
We weigh basically the same, and he's pulling. This is twice what twice basically. He's twice as strong as me, and we weigh the same. That means I'm half the man of him. I'm half as manly as him.
I appreciate it. I don't think so. It should be moving faster than it is, but I haven't really peaked in a while, so I'm actually pretty happy with how it's moving right now. Yeah.
That's the first thing. If you want to get to 100,000 followers, you have to have a cinematic iPhone.
That's what I'm missing.
Yeah.
42K.
Let's go.
Let's go, Jimmy House.
Come on now.
Let's go, Jimmy House.
Fucking go. Come on.
Come on.
Stick with it. Stick with it. All the way
Hits,
through. All the
hits,
way
hits.
through.
Buddy.
Nice. Yes, sir. Look at that eccentric.
Let's go.
Yeah. Great job.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
And now do a backflip.
You guys can do it?
Well, make sure you got space.
Got it if I fail. One time, I got it. It's on session 4. Right.
You got it.
You got this. You got this. You got
Trust
this.
yourself. You can do it. Trust yourself. You can do it. Come on. Oh, wait. Wait now. So you've done some bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You've done some powerlifting. Now you're doing jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. This guy's doing all 3 of these things at the same time. What do you think?
Now that you put it that way, I feel kind of like a bitch, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I didn't know.
You know what?
I didn't know I was going to make you
Peace!
feel so sad. Well, I'm pretty sad too because he's just lifting a house, pun intended.
Fun intent. I like it.
He's absolutely crushing it, and it was just great to meet you today. Great to have you on the podcast today. Thank you for all the kind words, the compliments. I really appreciate that.
Thank you guys both.
But it's great to see high-level performers that are paying attention to the smaller details.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we like. That's what we really love. We've seen mutants and we've seen freaks and we've seen this guy and that guy, but some people are just like, yeah, just go over and bend down and just pick it up. And you're like, come on, there's nothing more to this story.
Yeah.
It's nice when you run into somebody like Jimmy that's paying attention to all the details. He's like, oh yeah, knees over toes. He's like, I'm paying attention to that. I'm doing the ATG split squats. I'm doing the slant board. He's incorporating all these things into his training, and it's making you better, right?
Absolutely. Durability is through the roof. Being able to train jits 2 to 3 times a day and still lift heavy, the knees over toes ATG movements, I'm a huge proponent and
He has
advocate
caught
for.
that. He said 2 to 3 times a day.
Absolutely. And if you don't believe
The only
me,
thing I can do 2 or 3 times a day is take a shit.
And jacking off.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like 6 to, yeah. Anyway.
But where can they find you, Jim?
so you guys can find me on Instagram at jhouse182. If you guys are interested in any House Strong merchandise, my website, you can check us out at www.teamhousestrong.com. Thanks, guys.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.